Did you know that 65% of people struggle to tell a good story? That's a shocking statistic. Storytelling is an art, but for many, it feels like a puzzle with missing pieces. Whether it's at a party, in a meeting, or on social media, the ability to tell a captivating story can make all the difference. Yet, most people miss the mark. But here's the kicker: stories can influence decisions by up to 22 times more than facts alone. This means if you want to persuade someone, share a story, not just a statistic. People are wired to connect with stories. It's in our DNA. So, why do so many fail to tell them effectively? In this video, we'll explore the common mistakes people make when storytelling and, more importantly, how to fix them. We'll dive into why perfectionism can kill your narrative and how to harness the power of silence to captivate your audience. You'll also learn why showing is better than telling and how to create stories that resonate with your listeners. By the end, you'll have the tools to become a more engaging storyteller and avoid the traps that trip up so many. Get ready to transform your storytelling skills and connect with your audience like never before. Chapter 1: The Myth of the Born Storyteller, Debunking the Talent Trap. One of the biggest misconceptions about storytelling is that it's a natural born gift. People often assume that great storytellers are born with some magical ability. But that's just not true. In fact, studies show that up to 85% of top performers across creative fields have practiced their craft intensely for at least 10 years. Erickson, Peak. The truth is, storytelling is a learned skill. It's like any other ability, whether it's learning to play the piano or mastering a sport. It takes time, effort, and practice to get better. So, if you think you're just not good at it, you're not doomed. You're simply in the early stages of learning. A common mistake is believing that great storytellers never struggle. But did you know that even J.K. Rowling's first Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by 12 publishers? Imagine if she had given up, thinking she wasn't cut out to be a writer. So how do you avoid falling into this talent trap? Start by seeing storytelling as a process of growth. Commit to daily practice, even if it's just telling a small story about your day. Listen to other great storytellers and analyze their techniques. Use your own life experiences to craft stories, even if they seem ordinary at first. Remember, the more you practice, the better you'll get. Chapter 2: The Curse of Perfectionism. Why striving for flawless stories will ruin yours. Another reason people fail at storytelling is perfectionism. The quest to tell a flawless story is not only exhausting but also paralyzing. Perfectionists often overthink every word, every pause, and every detail until the story feels mechanical. But here's a fact: people connect more with authentic, messy stories than they do with perfectly polished ones. Dr. Brené Brown, in her book The Gifts of Imperfection, emphasizes that vulnerability is a storyteller's superpower. Trying to be perfect all the time actually makes you less relatable. In fact, she says, imperfections are not inadequacies. They are reminders that we're all in this together. So, how do you overcome the curse of perfectionism? Start by embracing imperfection. When you tell a story, don't aim for it to be perfect. Aim for it to be real. Share your mistakes, your struggles, and your emotions. These are the things that people relate to. For instance, research shows that when public speakers share their own vulnerabilities, audience trust increases by 23%, McKinsey, 2020. Another strategy is to stop over-editing. When you revise your story too much, you risk stripping it of its soul. Instead, give yourself permission to tell your story as it comes naturally. Pause when you need to, stumble if you must, it's part of the process. The magic happens when you let go of the need to be perfect. Chapter 3: Emotion over Information. The heartbeat of storytelling. How focusing on facts can kill your story. One of the biggest mistakes in storytelling is drowning your audience in information. A common error is thinking that if you just load your story with facts, people will be impressed. But here's the catch: people don't remember facts, they remember emotions. According to psychologist Jerome Bruner, stories are 22 times more memorable than facts alone. For example, imagine you're trying to tell the story of a historical event. Instead of listing the dates and stats, try painting a picture of the emotions involved. How did people feel at that moment? Were they scared? Excited? Angry? Tap into those emotions, and your story will come to life. Another key strategy is to focus on the why behind your story, not just the what. Simon Sinek, in his book Start With Why, explains that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The same applies to storytelling. If your audience understands the emotional core of your story, they'll stay engaged. So, what's the best way to inject emotion into your storytelling? Start by thinking of moments in your life when you felt a strong emotion, joy, fear, sadness, hope. Use those feelings as a base. Describe the sensations in detail. Was your heart racing? Did you feel a lump in your throat? These sensory details create emotional resonance. Finally, ask yourself how you want your audience to feel by the end of your story. Once you have that answer, craft your narrative to guide them toward that emotional point. Remember, emotions stick. Information fades. If you're finding these tips helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join our community for more insights on storytelling and connect with fellow aspiring storytellers. Chapter 4: The Hidden Power of Silence. Mastering Pauses. The storytelling tool no one talks about. Most people think that great storytelling is all about what you say. But, what if I told you it's also about what you don't say? Silence is one of the most underrated storytelling tools, yet it can be incredibly powerful. Research by Harvard Business Review found that well-timed pauses can boost engagement and retention by up to 18%. Why? Because silence creates tension and anticipation. Think about it. When you pause at a crucial moment in your story, your audience leans in. Their curiosity builds. They're waiting for what's next. It's a psychological trick that draws people deeper into the story. In fact, comedians use this technique all the time. Watch any stand-up routine, and you'll notice how they pause right before the punchline. That beat of silence makes the joke land harder. So how do you use this in storytelling? Start by pacing yourself. Don't rush through your story. Allow moments of silence to linger, especially after something important happens. For example, if you've just shared a shocking twist, pause and let your audience react. Silence gives them time to process emotions. Another strategy is to use silence to shift the mood. If your story is moving from a light-hearted moment to something more serious, a few seconds of silence can signal that change in tone. Neuroscience backs this up too. Pauses allow the brain to switch gears and absorb new information. But remember, this isn't about awkward silences. It's about using silence purposefully, like punctuation in a sentence. Let your story breathe. The right pause can make all the difference. Chapter 5: The Engagement Trap. Telling versus showing. Why telling your story isn't enough. Many people make the mistake of just telling their story. They narrate the events, describe the facts, and hope it's enough. But here's the problem: telling alone makes your story flat. If you want your audience to truly connect with your narrative, you need to show them what's happening. There's a simple rule in storytelling: show, don't tell. Instead of saying, "I was scared," show what that fear looked like. Did your hands shake? Did your heart pound in your chest? This kind of detail paints a vivid picture for the listener. According to Stanford University, stories that activate multiple senses in the brain lead to a 65% increase in engagement. Here's an example. Let's say you're telling a story about getting lost in a forest at night. Instead of just saying, "I couldn't see anything," describe the darkness. Show how the trees loomed like shadows and how you could hear every rustle of leaves. That's how you draw your audience in. They start to feel like they're right there with you. A great tip is to use sensory language. Think about the 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Incorporating these into your story makes it richer and more immersive. In his book on writing, Stephen King explains, description begins in the writer's imagination, but should finish in the reader's. By showing, you leave room for your audience's imagination to fill in the gaps. Another strategy is to use dialogue to show emotions rather than simply narrating them. For example, instead of saying, "She was angry," you could show her anger through her actions, slamming a door, pacing back and forth, or snapping at someone. This brings your characters and their emotions to life. If you enjoyed these storytelling tips, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Join our community and never miss out on more valuable insights to elevate your storytelling game.